Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Yevamot page 93, which quotes a sentence in Deuteronomy in Sefer Devarim, which says, "Laman, in order that a person should tilmad liras Hashem Elokecha kol yomim, you should learn to fear God all of your days." And on this, in an almost cryptic manner, the Talmud says, what does it mean you have to fear God all of your days? This is referring to the Shabbat and Yom Tov. So on the surface, that sounds like you have to be fearful and walk around shaking and scared of God all the time, and especially on Shabbat and during the festive holidays. But in this, the Talmud says something very fascinating. It says that normally when it comes to a person who eats food, you need to separate certain foods for the Kohen, to the Levi, which is Truma or Meiser. Otherwise, it's called Tevel. It's food in which is untithed, in which a person is not allowed to eat. Now, once it's in front of you, you're supposed to do that before the Shabbat, and then you're able to eat that food. Now, the problem was, in this particular story, there was a person who had a sharecropper, and he used to bring a basket of fruits every single Friday, and then when that was brought, so they would separate all the different trumos and maasros from that basket. However, it didn't happen. He didn't come, and it was decided that they should separate the truma and maaser from a different location. And we actually learn from here a very important concept, that it's possible that a person is able to separate these different tithes, even if it's not from the food that's directly in front of you. The question is, what does this have to do with fearing God? So in this, the commentators explain that there is a special mitzvah called Oneg Shabbat. On Shabbat, we're supposed to have a very enjoyable and beautiful Shabbat and Yom Tov festive meal. And the problem is that if you don't have the foresight to separate those tithes before the Shabbat, a person is not really supposed to do it on Shabbat itself. And therefore, that would take away from the pleasure of Shabbat. So this person is considered to be someone who fears God so much because he went out of his way to make sure that the fruit that would eventually come later on would be considered legally tithed, even though he didn't touch it, but he took it from somewhere else, in order that he will now be able to eat the food on the Shabbat. Which teaches us an amazing idea, that usually when we hear the words fearing God, we think that means, again, that you're sitting and praying and fasting, which certainly there is time for that. However, part of fearing God is looking at and accepting and understanding all of God's mitzvot, which includes the Shabbat and enjoying the Shabbat. So to have the foresight to recognize the importance of having Shabbat is something which shows that God is always on the forefront of your mind, even though it's not really something which seems very fearful of, but it shows that it's something which is dear and important to you, and therefore for that, this individual is considered to be accredited for having feared God all of his days.